Hello and welcome back to the Jules with Jim podcast. I am your host GiGi and I hope you're well. If you're new, welcome. I'm honored to have you here, and if you're returning, I'm humbled to have you back. And to all my new subbies, welcome. You are the VIPs indeed, and thank you ever so much for your continuous support. So we're still in the new year. Well, we're still in the first month of the new year, and I hope that, it's treating everybody well. I hope that you've settled into the vibe of what the new year has in store for you. I, for one, definitely see a lot of changes. I foresee a lot of changes. Some of you might have gotten engaged. Some of you might have gotten married. You may have moved to a whole new different city. You may have changed your career, started a new business, given birth, whatever the change that is currently happening in your life. I hope that you have accepted it and gladly embraced it, and that it brings you nothing more than excitement. So on to my technological difficulties and technological woes. What I usually use to record my podcast is my earphones so that I can, reduce the amount of background noise. So in pure Mercury retrograde fashion, my earphones stopped working. And so here I am trying to make sure that, I'm recording because I'm really passionate, obviously, about talking about astrology and connecting with you. So here I am trying my best, and please bear with me if the sound is not consistent, although I will try my level best to make sure that it is, and that, my communication is clear and crisp throughout this video. So, talking about the fourth house, in my understanding of the fourth house, I think this is the deepest part of ourselves. Even if you do look at, a natal birth chart, you'll see the 10th house is kind of like the peak of the chart. And then you'll have the fourth house, which is kind of the bottom part of the chart. So in my honest and humble opinion, I feel like the fourth house is really just one of those houses that needs to be observed the most, for the simple fact that it is, rooted, excuse the pun. It is about roots, but in essence, it is about childhood experiences, childhood trauma. This is the house that you want to look at if you're trying to understand somebody on a deeper level, right? Associated with the moon rules over the fourth house. So the moon is, is all about emotions and how our temperament is. The moon is all about who we are at the core. So this is definitely the house that I like to observe when I'm trying to understand, or when I'm trying to read, a birth chart, because it will give me a better understanding of the type of individual that I'm dealing with. Any aspects, any planets to this fourth house will definitely paint a much clearer picture as to the type of person that I'm dealing with, right? But not only that, it's also symbolic of the mother. This house also represents the mother, or even just your relationship with, maternal figures around you. It's also representation of, your family, what type of family you might have had, what type of home you may have grew up in, how you were nurtured, were you nurtured, how little or how much, were your needs catered to, and, all of the 4 basic needs of life, which are food, water, shelter, and clothing. And I'd also like to add emotion as being number 5, because of course we need to also observe if you were, raised in an environment where you were nurtured emotionally, especially because we know what type of effects that could have, especially on our adulting life, guys. It is real. So this is definitely the house that I look to understand a person a little bit more deeper, and to also get their perception of, the public, because that is the house that is directly opposite the 10th house. So the fourth house is directly opposite the 10th house. So whatever is happening internally, that is kind of what will pour out, outwardly, especially if, you haven't really done a lot of the work that you needed to do, a lot of the internal work that, you should be doing. So let's get right into it. Planets in the fourth house. Let's go. So Sun in the fourth house, I always associate Cancer or even the fourth house with security. But I think with the sun, that's just basically who you are in a nutshell. These are the people that are huge when it comes to comfort, when it comes to security, when it comes to being comfortable. I don't know how much more I can emphasize comfort, and not the Taurus type of comfort, like being surrounded by really beautiful things. I think the comfort of maintaining, and sustaining whatever it is that they may have, or whatever it is that they're working towards, whether it be a career, relationship, whatever it is. If you have the sun in the 4th house, you're going to be mainly concerned about maintaining your comfort and finding ways to try and expand your ways of sustaining that comfort. So, it for me, I always feel like the sun in the 4th house person may be quite bossy because of this, because they believe that they're able, because let's look at it, in a nutshell. The 4th house is associated with intuition, it's associated with the moon. So naturally, these would be the people, well, even Cancer, the sign is associated with intuition. So they feel that they have a way of knowing what's kind of, in the best interests of everyone, and that's really where the element of being bossy, or wanting to be a leader, or wanting to be a provider really comes in. And it's kind of gender biased, because obviously if you do have sun in the 4th house and you're a woman, then you kind of do take on this role where you feel like you want to be the provider, but then it's of course mostly appropriate and natural according to society standards to want to be very paternal, if you will, if you are a man. So these energies can be viewed in a different way, also depending on the aspects that are hitting this house. So but yeah, definitely a lot of seeking comfort, a lot of ease in terms of the home life. They really, if their home life is really quite chaotic, they really do want a sense of mobility. They want homes, or want to be, they may have been surrounded by, or been in a home that was quite creative, that sparked some creative ability. Sure, that took a while to come out of my mouth, but yes, a lot of creativity. They wanted to be around a home that provided that, because Cancer is also associated with creativity, whether that be in art, in fashion, in makeup. You'll see a lot of people who are quite Cancer dominant that really look after the aesthetics of things, or know how to nurture and look after these things. So that's definitely kind of the things that they'd be into, really expressing their creativity, really expressing, they're intelligent as well, because, most Cancers that I've come across are quite intelligent, very intelligent. These are the people that really won't like to show off their intelligence, but when it's time for them to actually play the part, they definitely do the right things. They are the right people to be the leader. And it's so weird, because a lot of the times Cancers are perceived as emotional. So I think people are not really saying that you're emotional. I think it's more of they have a lot of emotional intelligence, which kind of helps. It definitely goes a long way. So of course, depending on how the sun is aspected in this house, that will definitely tell you the full story. Moon in the 4th house. So moon in the 4th house, I would imagine to be quite an amazing, lovely placement, considering that, of course, it's in the house of its natural rulership, right? Cancer rules the 4th house. Moon is in the 4th house. It would even be more amazing if the moon itself is in Cancer. This is definitely a placement that I would think is quite enjoyable. I feel like the moon in the 4th house people are the type of people that are extremely, extremely hardworking. And of course, just like the sun in the 4th house is just to ensure that they can keep, their piece of heaven, that they can keep their sense of sanity. This is really the part of themselves where they really try and balance their energies here, or the energy could be very balanced, like it's very well rounded. Of course, aspects will paint the bigger picture, but the home is most likely a place where they really felt comfortable, or they find extreme comfort within the people that are within the home. So they may find extreme comfort with their parents, or their siblings. It just really depends on what they find comfort in. But majority of the time, they really experience a sense of, I'm so glad to be home. Home is like my sort of like my hideaway from the public, from society. It's a place where they can just be themselves without any judgment. So I really would love to see positive aspects when moon is placed here, because honestly, the moon is one of the most important planets. It's how we can understand a person better, other than just knowing the sun or the ascendant sign. So the moon is really who we are at the core. This is who we are without even trying. So I definitely like to see positive aspects here. This is also somebody who's quite submissive. So if you're female, this would definitely be somebody who's quite submissive in a relationship. So if it is a heterosexual relationship, homosexual relationship, whatever kind of relationship it is, it's much easier for them to step into a more feminine type of role, where they nurture and they support and they do all of these amazing, lovely gestures to make sure that the people around them are comfortable: partners, mothers, fathers, aunts, everyone in the home, whoever's in the home. So they really do have, they do place a lot of value on providing comfort to those around them or within the home. Venus in the fourth house. I'm imagining Venus in the fourth house to be kind of that person that just like is rushing home, from getting supplies from the grocery store to make amazing meals that their family will enjoy. Maybe that be on Christmas Day, or even just it's their first it's the first day of their weekend off. So they're so excited, to spend some time with the family. This is somebody who really, really enjoys decorating the home, making sure that the home really has like nice stuff in it. I have a friend who has Venus in the fourth house, and oh my God, stepping into her home is literally like stepping into a hotel. Literally, there are mirrors everywhere, gold trimmings, silver trimmings, like everything has a specific theme. The kitchen is kind of like an all white with some splash of black. The bedroom, oh my gosh, the bedroom is, it's like walking into a spa. There's everything that you could dream of. The bed is comfortable. The decor on the bed, like the cushions and the throws on the bed are really a representation of, somebody who really thought about, what they're putting onto their bed and how they want it to look. So the aesthetics of the home is very much in focus here, how it looks, how it feels. This might also be somebody who really enjoys bringing people over. Like, this is the person who's like, oh, dinner at my house, or, I'm having a party, please come through. So constantly just having their home open to people a lot of the time, which is also quite enjoyable. They like having people over. So they might even be quite the domesticated type in terms of really keeping the home clean, keeping it, lively, keeping it emotionally balanced and stable. This is probably somebody who really pays attention to how the home looks, how it feels. When people come there, they welcome people with all that they have. This could also be somebody who is, a chef, because, Venus and food, that's one of that's one of the senses. So this could be somebody who really goes all out in terms of pleasantries, like eating, and you'll just be well taken care of if you do go to a home with somebody who has Venus in the fourth. So these are your entertainers, people who love to entertain in their homes, come over for a dinner, come over for a braai, very, very camaraderie type of spirit in the home here. So that's definitely quite enjoyable. So Mercury in the fourth house, these people may have been you might have been a busybody in the home, or you might just be that person in the home that like just knows the tea about everyone. I think I actually appreciate this energy, to be quite honest. And that's only due to the fact that, you know, your parents or your guardians or whoever was in an authority position in the home may have really encouraged you, you know, to kind of speak up or to really express yourself. You may have been given the opportunities to engage in a variety of activities. So you may, you know, your parents may tell you, you know, go and play with the other kids, you know, or you might just be somebody who just had a lot of activities. Like, you know, after school, you have to go to ballet classes, you have to go to dance classes, you have to go to swimming classes, you have to go play sports, you know, that kind of a vibe where you were just constantly stimulated. Because I also feel like with this placement, you get quite bored, you know, being in the home. It's like, okay, I know every part of the home. I need to get out of the home and do, you know, other things. Or you may like to keep busy within the home. So you may be somebody who is quite busy around the home. So you may be busy cooking, or you may be busy, you know, listening to music, or, you know, you may be busy cleaning, whatever it is that kind of gets you out of that, that kind of helps you to not face any streak of boredom. You're going to be on top of it. So this is also a placement that maybe tells me that you may have had, you know, a home that was filled with a lot of people, or there were just different personalities, you know, or that, you know, an authority figure in the home, a parent, a guardian may have had, you know, issues, you know, surrounding around rather depression or, you know, mental health, or that your parents were just far, like just distant. If that could be physically, or that could be, you know, just distant in the fact that they were just absent-minded, just like never there. They were there physically, but just never, you know, there in the moment, in the present. So, you know, yeah, physically there, but not really, you know, there. I think it also indicates your parents may have really exerted a lot of pressure and a lot of emphasis on intelligence and achieving good grades. And, you know, if you didn't achieve the good grades, then, you know, emotional distance may have been used as, you know, a form of punishment. So just going completely silent. So that may have been, you know, the repercussions of not achieving those particular you know, goals that were set out by the authority figure. So, you know, if Mercury is aspected quite well, then it's also quite possible that you may just be the person that people come to, your family comes to, you know, for advice. Because, I mean, hello, you're quite logical, you're quite analytical, and you're able to take your feelings out of situations. You're able to look at something holistically, logically, and objectively, instead of from a subjective standpoint, especially when it has to do with matters within the family. So you're kind of like that person that just knows, you know, how to sort of like be diplomatic in situations like that, because we all know, you know, issues within family, it's very hard to remain objective and to kind of take yourself out of the situation. So there is just so much more I'd like to add. I might do a part 2. I think I may have to do a part 2 since I do have the constraint of timing, but I'll definitely look into that. So Mars in the 4th house, this placement definitely screams big city vibes. Perhaps you may just have a longing, or you may have lived in the big city for most of your life. You know, like Mars in the 3rd house, there's definitely an element of passion. There's an element of shouting. There's an element of loudness, gunshots, violence, that may have happened in the home. So I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying these are possibilities, you know, that could have happened in a home. There's just a lot of, when I think about it, even in my mind, I hear a lot of commotion, just a lot of talking, just a lot of buzzing, you know, in the home. Or there may have been a lot of squabbles between you and your siblings, you know, or there may have been really a very competitive nature between you and your siblings. I think there's also an element of parents not really getting along here. It's kind of like, okay, they will get along for the sake of pretense, you know, keeping up or pretending, or trying to portray a certain image to, you know, the outside world, and then behind closed doors it's really a completely different story. So, you know, a lot of rah, honestly. I'm definitely thinking, as I'm explaining it now, I'm definitely thinking Shameless vibes, Shameless the series. I'm definitely picking up those kind of vibes. And even like Martian energy, these natives were probably really called to grow up quite fast, or you may have had to be quite assertive from a young age, which may have translated into, being a bit of a bully to those around you. And I think you being a bully may have come from being put down in the home or being put down by your siblings, and it's just an outcry of this eternal internal turmoil or resentment that you may have felt with Mars in the 4th house. So if you do have Mars in the 4th house, I would encourage you to seek therapy. That's definitely one thing that will help. Seek therapy. Jupiter in the 4th house, immediately what comes to mind when I think of Jupiter in the 4th house, I'm just thinking big house vibes. Like, where do you live? I want to be there. I want to go there. I'm definitely thinking a large family. Like maybe you guys are, you have 6 other siblings or 10 other siblings, like polygamous vibes here. Or you may have had a home that was just full of religious or spiritually conscious beings, or you may have even had experiences with these types of individuals, or you were interested in the bigger questions surrounding life, and I think your home life might have encouraged that out of you. So you may have had parents that were quite open-minded and were like, okay, well, we're Muslims, but you can decide what type of religion or a religion that you want to take up, or do you want to be more spiritual? They really encouraged you to have kind of like a free mind, depending on how Jupiter is aspected, of course. I know that in some homes, if your parents are Muslim, you would obviously have to practice that, but I think there are homes whereby it was more your choice as to what you felt you needed to practice, especially growing up. There are homes whereby, you're not really forced into any type of religious practice or spiritual practices. But in some homes, that's not really an option. So I think also what may have really inspired you or triggered a lot of the questions surrounding life, surrounding spirituality, surrounding wisdom, may have been the fact that, you may have traveled quite a lot, or the church that you go to may have really brought about these questions, and then that's when you kind of go on a quest to kind of find out more about life according to, or to sort of supplement your understanding of the world. You may have even had a family that moved around quite a bit. Maybe your parents were professors and they would have conferences that they needed to attend, or you might have had a dad who was a pastor or a mom who was a pastor who was constantly traveling from different countries to countries, city to city, and you just were kind of like part of it. Or they might have been a life coach or motivational speakers, and they give these amazing, inspiring talks to people that also just fueled your passion around wanting to understand the deeper, or wanting to have answers to the deeper questions of this life. So I think it also, this placement also indicates somebody who's quite generous, with the family, or that your family could be quite well connected and is able to make certain means available to you. You may have an open door policy that is extremely inviting to people. That's either you opening up your home for people to kind of like come in and go, or that or just people staying permanently. Like, you always have an open door policy towards helping others in need. There was actually something I wanted to mention, but I think now the thought has actually gone past my mind and just is fleeting somewhere. But if I do remember, then I'll definitely bring it up. Uranus in the 4th house. If you have this placement, wow, I'd really like to see your home. I honestly would like to see your home. I think 2 things that come to mind with this placement. I'm either thinking your house is probably really, really hard to keep in order, or your home is just filled with really cool treasures or like artifacts, or the architecture of your home is really different, or there's just something about where you grew up, how you were raised, that is extremely unusual and unconventional. So a lot of people might not really, when you speak about your home or when you speak about your childhood, a lot of people are just like, they can't even comprehend it because it's just so outlandish. It's just like, are you even from this planet? There's a lot of that in with this placement. Like, are you even from this planet? Like, a lot of people might even think that you're probably lying when you tell stories about your childhood or what you remember from your childhood, and they probably just like, we just have to see this because this is out of this world. So I think this placement also makes you quite rebellious, in that you may have not wanted to be told what to do, what to wear, who to speak to, who to not be friends with, how to express yourself, and there is this sort of weird expectation that you expected everybody to kind of be on the bandwagon with that. You wanted everybody to be okay with that. So you might have really strived for people to accept you. You need to check, of course, how Uranus is aspected here. A square to, let's say Uranus squaring the sun would definitely make you quite passionate about being accepted as you are and expecting everybody else to be on that bandwagon. But this is also such a cool energy because even in the home environment, you provide, different perspective. You think about things very differently to the average person. You have beliefs that are quite different to the average person, and even things that you may have been taught in your childhood are probably not things that you still uphold because they may have lost their value because you're just an energy that keeps changing with the times. But it's very difficult for you to get to that change because some of the times it's just like, why fix what's not broke, but it's only up until you'll eventually see as time goes on that, okay, I need to change certain things about myself or change the way I think about things or change my perception in order to start experiencing a reality that is a little bit more lighter and more encouraging to where you're going leading up to your North Node, which I'm still yet to talk about. Do look out for the North Node video. So anybody who's just not going to agree with you is definitely going to be met with backlash. So you might have been the person to be like, okay, if you don't want to accept me, then that's completely fine. That's your business, but that's not going to stop me from being who I want to be. There's a very strong sense of self with a fourth house Uranus energy. Very, very strong sense of self. They absolutely do not care what other people, their family thinks about them. If they feel like they need to present themselves in a particular way, express themselves in a particular way, that is exactly what is going to happen. This could also indicate a lot of movement in terms of, childhood homes, like a lot of moving here, moving there, living with this one, living with that one, just a lot of chaos within the home as well. But other than that, I think all of the chaos and all of the moving up and down might really contribute to your perspective on how you view life. Especially, this is also big high key black sheep or outcast from the home vibes. So yeah, if you have this, I'm pretty sure you are just the odd one out. Neptune in the fourth house. I think the home life for this placement, the home was is or isn't a safe place. It just obviously depends on the aspect made to Neptune. This is really, if it is positively aspected, then it's really a place where the imagination can really run wild, a place where, your creativity could be allowed to, run free. Where you just write awesome poems and, it's like literally a dance with your intuition, a dance with your subconscious, which is where you like to be a lot of the time. And I also think you may have been perceived as somebody who is kind of like neither here nor there, just constantly wanting lots and lots of time alone, lots of solitude with this placement, because they just feel like when they with themselves, nobody is going to judge them, and they can roam in and out of realities where that judgment is also not where the judgment is not there completely. It's like having experiences with your subconscious, where your subconscious is presenting things to you, or where you're shifting in and out of realms, and it's like, okay, this is exactly what's happening, and you feel safe in those spaces, or whatever reality it is that you are exposed to. So there's a lot of in and out of experiencing realities here. So this might be the type of person that just constantly wants to sleep. Like, it's just that person who's just always sleeping. It's always it's so easy for you to be distracted. As I said, like, the imagination is quite active, and you may have been perceived by your family as just being easily influenced, or just not having a strong sense of identity, because you need to remember Neptune is such a nebulous energy that it just goes in and out. Even the symbol for Pisces is quite contradictory, because it's literally two fish going in opposite directions. So that is literally the nature of Pisces. And also it's a mutable sign. Like, it's ever changing. You will never find a Neptune in just one place or in one season. And I think this is the part of them that we need to accept, because Neptune, or the 12th house, or Pisces energy, is creative, extremely creative. And if you are somebody who's quite creative, you can't really be stuck in one place now, can you? Because then, where does your inspiration come from? You need to always have that ability to kind of switch back and forth into realities to gain some sort of inspiration. You need to allow your imagination to kind of run wild with you. So you could also be somebody who enjoys being in nature, or you may have grown up around a home that had a lot of trees, a lot of bugs. Like, there was just a lot to kind of explore within the home. You may even be somebody who really likes to pick up things that you come across. Like, if you're at the beach, you might really like picking up shells. If you're somebody who likes to take walks in the park, or you might be somebody who just picks flowers or precious rocks when you're at the botanical gardens. Literally, the list is endless with this placement. But you might have also been adopted, because, Neptune is somehow representative of abandonment. So, that could be a theme here. Neptune is also, the sign of deception. So there could be a lot of deception surrounding, your real parents or your real family. Or this could even be an indication of abuse within the home. Of course, we need to check how Neptune is aspected in this particular house. So Pluto in the 4th house, taking a really, really, really deep breath in for you if you have this placement, because wow, you may have just gone through a lot. You may have just, like, I swear, you talking about your childhood to somebody else, they may perceive it as it just being an entire movie. Like, they thinking to themselves, oh my God, for a child to go through that, it's just unbelievable. And even when I think about this placement, I'm just thinking, when kids are asked to, like, draw a picture of, their parents, I think you would probably be the kid that would just draw something that's, like, really scary, like a really scary image of both parents, or even of just the one, or you just really draw, like, a morbid representation of your family. Pluto in its negative energy, is extremely manipulative and just excessively controlling and quite overbearing. It's a very intense, overbearing energy. So one really needs to be quite careful as to, what you are exposing yourself to when you have, this placement, because it's very, very easy to sort of slip into, a negative vibe, a negative energy, negative perceptions, and really, really, really deep depressions or really, really deep issues around mental health can come from having this placement, because you just go through so much. It's literally having, like, PTSD. I think it's PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's literally because you're in a state of sink or swim. You're constantly in a state of survival when you have this placement, because I don't know what more to say, but it's like these individuals, like you guys, you experience so much. It's like any placement that's quite heavy in Pluto, whether it be Pluto on your ascendant, whether it be Pluto with your moon, whether it be Pluto with your sun, whether you have moon in Scorpio, whether you have Venus in Scorpio, like you always just see the worst of the worst, and I think if you'd really like to turn a negative into a positive, I think it's very important that you get to a place in your life that you heal. You really heal from those experiences that that you've had in your life, and you come out and then tell other people about it so that you could potentially heal others around you, because I think that is really strong with this placement. So this is probably somebody that could grow up to be a psychologist, because they might have grown up under such dire circumstances, and they might want to support children that may be experiencing the same. So parents or even guardians just may have not really there was like just no sense of privacy, like boundaries never there. Even if they were kind of set up, they were just never respected for whatever reason. Your childhood just may not have been experienced. It may just have been something that you just remember in flashes or flashbacks. So it also depends, because Pluto gives you quite a vivid memory. So I don't really think with this placement that the home was really a safe space, unless it was positively aspected. But even so, even with positive aspects, it still does not take away the intensity that Pluto does bring into one's life. So really just, I get this feeling of just walking on eggshells. Like you never know when the pin might drop, honestly. This could also indicate like estranged relationships with your family, due to the continuous pushing or even stepping of boundary lines. Like people were constantly just not respecting your boundaries, not respecting you as an individual, and you're always finding yourself having to hide, parts of yourself when you have this placement. So it's really, really deep. I really do feel for those who have Pluto in the 4th house. It's just not nice. Especially to have it in such a deep part of oneself. It's like feeling like being an outcast, basically, because who's really going to believe you and the experiences that you've had, So only thing I can say to encourage Pluto in the 4th house really is just to kind of find healing, to see a therapist, a psychologist, or to really get into some shadow work, really trying to heal the inner child and make sure that they have a chance to live through the individual. So Saturn in the 4th house, if you have this placement, you may have been perceived as, a blessing to your parents or even to your family, as you may have been, extremely well behaved. Like this is the typical law-abiding citizen. Yeah, this is you, for real. You were just that child that was just extremely well behaved, your typical top student. You were, and you probably still are, very mature. So like if there was any sort of like tension or misunderstandings that were happening in the home, you were able to kind of just step up and do what you needed to do. You were always just in step up mode. You might even be the eldest, or even if you are the youngest, you do come across as having a sense of, understanding, like you're very extremely intelligent when it comes to, understanding things that you might not have experienced or that your age does not really allow you to experience. So you're quite an old soul if you do have this placement. I think your family also may have been quite small. You may have even been an only child, your parents might have also been quite strict and just wanted you to be raised in a home that was structured. So you're waking up at 6 a.m. At 6:30, you're going downstairs. Well, at 6:30, you're getting dressed. 7, you're going downstairs and you're having breakfast. By 7:15, you are on the way, going to school. You're going to be dropped off, or transport is going to come fetch you. Very sort of like structured type of childhood where your every move was kind of monitored. Sort of like similar to Pluto, but obviously a little bit more, deeper. But a very structured sort of like lifestyle. So there was never really any spare time to do anything out of the norm. Like you have a couple of minutes, like 10 minutes to just be yourself and, watch TV or binge on whatever you wanted to binge. I don't think there was a lot of time to kind of do that with this placement. I don't think the home was emotionally lively, or that it was even emotionally available for you to voice certain things out. If there was a situation and you needed to step up, you kind of just did that. And, you did that without even thinking twice. You were always that person that would be in the home to take up the parental role, if that's the case. If your parents may have died, you may have been the person who's just like, okay, time to put on the big girl panties, and you kind of just took that role, really took it in stride, and just no complaints, and just kind of did what you needed to do, what you knew had to be done. At any point in time, your family they really feel like you're just somebody that they can rely on, which is definitely a good thing, which is definitely a bad thing as well, depending on which way you look at it. A bad thing because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're still a person, you're still a child, or you're still a kid. You still have to experience things that children do experience. So I think with this energy, you end up being a kid in your later life, or you may even decide that you just don't want to have, a family, because, you've had so many responsibilities growing up that, you just have this taste for responsibility that you're just like, okay, I've just been through so much growing up. I don't think I want to, in my adulthood life, want to take on more responsibilities. But sometimes it's just not even your choice at times. You're just given those responsibilities well into adulthood. So if your parents died, you might have been the one to, be the parental figure. So yeah, definitely good, definitely bad. It has its negatives, it has its positives, because obviously the positive part about it being, you mature quite quickly, you're more understanding, but I think because of this coldness, you may also be somebody who is quite harsh on your siblings, or even people around you, especially growing up, especially when you reach like your adolescence and going into adulthood. I think you may have this energy about you that is quite cold or quite distant, that it's very hard for people to kind of get close to you. I think your family could have also been quite or extremely conservative, because you may have been raised by your grandparents or great grandparents even, or you were just constantly surrounded by elderly people, older people, and you kind of were just somebody to just kind of listen to all of the stories that they had to share, and you really, really soaked all of that information in, which gives you sort of like a well-rounded perspective on what to kind of expect in life, or it just gives you a bigger idea on the challenges that one may face in adulting, because we all know adulting is a scam, guys. It is a scam. And that's all I've got for you, my tubers. A reminder, tubers, to take what resonates and leave the rest. I always hope to bring clarity in the understanding of astrology, in the understanding or the study of astrology, and I hope you have understood just a little bit more about astrology. Until my next video, on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, which planets you have and which are your absolute faves. Show me some love and subscribe to my channel if you feel I have brought value to your understanding of astrology. As always, your time spent is much appreciated. Till next time, you know what you do, so keep doing what you do. Peace, love, and most of all, light. I'm out.